Hey folks, how you doing? Figured I'd do another one of these NEcology garden videos just because I've been a little bit slow to the take this year with actual habitat videos. So we're going to fill some space. First and foremost, thank you all so much for 1,000 subscribers. That's actually incredible. I set it at 100, I set it at 500, and I'll say it again at 1,000. I'm amazed even a dozen people have actually tuned in to watch these. I mean, I'd be doing these for myself anyway, because it's good to document this stuff just for the record, just to have for my own personal review. Getting the habitat stuff on video is it's important. You go back and you see stuff that you didn't always notice the first time. Document everything, document everything. So last one of these I had just set up actually that growing tray down there, and I had some rhododendrons starting to germinate. Actually, no, I didn't even have that set up. They were in one of these things, one of these Tupperware containers, and they had just started germinating. The rhododendrons have actually already been moved outside and repotted. We'll go show you that in a second. But this is, that was a planting or planting type thing. This is germinating and repotting and transplanting. All right. So these right here in front of you are called 1020 trays over. This is a big 4 foot by 2 foot heat mat. I got another little heat mat 1020 tray down there. Don't worry about what's in that one. That's all my garden veggies. In fact, I already had to take some of the corn out of there because it's growing quite rapidly. These are great to start plants on. They have these little modular trays that fit in them. See, this is what my rhododendron canadense came out of, and then also we're growing some white wood aster too, Eurobia divaricata. Those were a little bit precocious. Have already been moved outside. Just to give you a quick rundown, and here is Amelanchier canadensis that never germinated. I'm giving up on these. I will probably just put these outside for the season and just see what happens with them. I'll probably, leave them out over the season. I'll get them another hardcover tray like this, put them somewhere safe, and just give them another season go around to see if they germinate next year. Big thing with germinating native plants, because a lot of times crop plants have this spread out of them. It's a lot of native plants. Wild seed typically has some form of dormancy mechanism. In New England, we have cold winters and hot summers, or at least where I am at, we have cold winters, hot summers. A lot of northern New England has cold winters, cool summers, or even, you can get up into whatever. We don't have to get into a whole discussion with the climate. So those didn't germinate in here. Again, trial and error. This is supposed to be Iamactis linifolia. Did not germinate. Not quite sure what happened with there because everything I read said that thing should be very easy to work with. Sarracenia paparia popping up, doing quite well. Drosera filiformis also out. Having a little bit more trial and error with this one, but I've grown Sarracenia from seed a few times before, so I kind of get the gist of it. These are going to start taking off probably in another month or so, and I'll keep both of these inside all season. Dump that extra water out, just because these won't harden off enough to survive under winter. Added a couple of nice new grow lights to the setup here. In here, that's a Pycnanthemum muticum. That's a clustered mountain mint. Right here, again, not sure what happened. Only 2 of the trays are doing really well. Another supposedly easy to grow from seed plant, doesn't even need stratification. It has no dormancy. Neither does Pycnanthemum. Is a Lobelia inflata. Had much more luck growing Lobelia cardinalis, but what are you going to do? And then these 2 are supposed to be 2 different grasses. One's Andropogon gerardii, one's Sargassum natans. No luck on those, but I've got them also growing outside, so we'll see what happens there. Obviously, corn is a grass and sprouts readily because it's bred to. We did, however, get 2 nice little Schizachyrium scoparium sprouts. These are button bushes, Cephalanthus occidentalis. We're going to transplant these today, and I'll show you that in a second. Some random grass came up. One little Pidiopsis falcata seedling. Same thing happened last time I tried to grow this a few years ago. I got one seedling, and that one just damped off and died. This one, however, is actually doing pretty well. So I took him out. He doesn't need it wet. They prefer it dry. And then same thing with Liatris Nova Anglii here. Took him out. Weird little thing. Has the little dicotyledon down there, and then just sends out grass blade leaves. And apparently they do this. All Liatris species do this their first year of growth. This one's starting to put out a second leaf. Once they have, 2 or 3 good-sized leaves, I'll be moving these outside too, because allegedly they'll really take off, in the later half. It's still early. It's only May 2nd. I'll bring these outside. They really do well in the full sun heat, and they're allegedly going to just take off. I suspect the same will be true with these grasses here, because remember, we're in North America, not Europe. Most of our grasses are warm season grasses. Your lawn and shit is all non-native cold season grasses. I mean, we get cold season grasses in New England too, but the predominant, tall grasses of New England are all warm season grasses. They're growing aggressively during the hottest times of the year, and then generally flowering in late summer, if not early fall in some cases. So, and they're important to have in your garden too. Don't just put freaking quote unquote wildflowers. You're gonna have graminoids out there too. Get some sedges, definitely some grasses, rushes if you have the right type of yard for it. So, we're chugging along here. I get those. I'll show you what's germinating outside too. The stuff I just left out over the winter in those boxes, which I think that I'm still, we're still seeing how that experiment's going. Some of them are popping up. I've got hibiscus mosquitoes popping up and growing quite aggressively in there now. The asters are doing fine. They're just growing slow, but they're, hanging in there. Everything's going to take off the next few weeks. May 2nd, next 2 weeks, it's going to rain and be warm, and then it's going to be hot as balls, I guess, for that's at least what the weather projection's saying. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, we're going to go outside. I'll show you what's already outside. I'll give you a general overview of my practice, and we're going to pot up these button bush seedlings here. So give me a second here. Actually, while we'll pot that up in a second. I'll kind of show you the practice for there, but I'll also do a little walk around and show you what survived the winter and what I suspect has perished. Right here, I had an Erysima triphyllum, a healthy one, I put in the ground, and they bloom. Oh wait, hang on, I spoke too soon. This is a new development. I spoke way too soon. He's coming up right there. He's a little slow. But then again, it's probably the most shaded thing in this garden bed. So pardon me, the Erysima triphyllum, I guess, will be coming back. I see two little sprouts coming up. So we'll see what happens there. What did much better and what will be flowering soon is this Podophyllum peltatum. Not technically, I guess, some people argue native to Western Mass, but I don't know. I'm not the authority to go on there. Like I said, you got to have your graminoids. That's a sedge. This is Carex pennsylvanica. This one has already flowered. It's already done, and then it's doing its job, or at least what I want it to do, and it's starting to spread throughout the garden bed. That's what I want it to do. It's going to keep things from coming up in between, offers its own, floral interest as well. I've had this guy forever, transplanted this from my old place, Vaccinium corymbosum, nice blueberry. Going to start flowering soon. Another little patch of Carex pennsylvanica. Got Thalictrum thalictroides, which we'll be talking about out in the wild in a video soon. Beautiful little ranunculate, member of the family Ranunculaceae. Asterum canadens, not common in the wild around these parts, but seems to do well everywhere it's transplanted. Gotta have that one. This was the first guy up for the year, Dicentra canadensis. Also be talking about this in a couple videos coming out soon. Flowered. It's probably just about to be on its way out. It'll be dropping those flowers off in the next week or so. Miraculously, oh come on, this guy just can't catch a break. Miraculously, A plant I thought was done, like gone, doomed. Made it through the winter. My rhododendron canadense. I got some of those potted up around the corner. I'll show you 1 second. Also got nibbled down to nothing. Also technically not native to New England, but it was free. That's some cultivar of hydrangea arborescens, you know, smooth hydrangea. Native to the eastern U.S., but not to New England. All my Lobelia cardinalis coming back up. This patch is doing much better than the patch on the other side here, which I'll show you. Yeah, random tulips. I had them. I figured I'd just throw them in the ground. What the hell? You got not Eupatorium, Agritina, Altissima poking up through the soil there. Same thing with Eupatorium. Not Eupatorium. Eutrochium dubium. There's the other patch of cardinal flower. Surprised this guy came back. It's Rubus odoratus. And then over there, still getting munched on by frickin' deer is my native honeysuckle. I don't know why. They just can't leave the thing the fuck alone. So we'll go over to the other side of the yard. I'll show you what's going on in the more open flower bed. Okay, we come over to the side, and as expected, the Solidago canadensis is doing just fine. It's slumped over, but I've grown this plenty of times. I know that it starts off the season kind of slumped over, comes back or shoots up no problem when it finally goes to flower in like August. Both of these, the Stokesia laevis, bounced back from being gnawed right into the ground. So did this phlox here. Again, two native to the east, not necessarily New England. I just have them because they're interesting plants and they're not going to hurt anything. And then this will kind of spread around. It'll make a nice ground cover. It'll outcompete the weeds and stuff. This honeysuckle, Diravella lanicera, doing much better over on this side of the house. It keeps getting eaten in the shadier side. Verbena hastata. Now that I know that the erythema triphyllum is in fact coming back, that might be the only thing that didn't actually make it to the winter. Schizachyrum scoparium. Hard to tell, but there's some little green leaf grass blades poking up through there. Milkweed just starting to come up. Will be blooming in June. Another one of those Stokesias. This, it's hard to tell from here. This was a big Comptonia, got eaten down to nothing. This one was big enough to resprout. This one, however, was not. So only 2 of my Comptonias seem to have made it through the winter. We'll find something else to put here though. Verbena alternifolia is just starting up. Again, it's a late summer bloomer. Anemone virginiana, thimbleweed coming up there. Actually kept a lot of those leaves over the winter. Different species of Thalectrum. This one grows tall, blooms a little bit later in the summer. Thalectrum pubescens. Got a couple Baptisia tinctorias that came through just fine. Smaller patch of milkweed, and then that's the Comptonia peregrina that ended up doing really, really well for itself. So anyway, that's that. Let's go repot. Let's go pot up our button bushes, and then see if we can put a couple of plants in the ground. I got some stuff that I got at a nursery that I'm going to put a couple of them here and a couple of them out front. Oh, real quick, this is what we've got going on with the Hibiscus moschutos. He's coming in really well. Sorry, I can't see beyond the gray. Actually, I guess I could just look this up. Hibiscus moschutos coming in really well. Some of these are taking their sweet time. Some of this stuff like popped a month ago and then just didn't grow, but I'm not too worried about it. Keep in mind, these plants are meant to grow here, and these little boxes are close and sheltered enough to the ground. I'm actually more worried about some of this stuff, not getting enough sunlight rather than getting too cold. So far, those have impressed me the most. You get some other stuff popping up here too. Not much in this one. You see a couple cotyledons down in there, or not, because of the grate makes it hard to tell. But whatever. Let's go do what we came here to do. All right. So we just get these guys topped off with some potting mix. I don't do anything too fancy. Sometimes like with the rhododendron canadense over there. I add a little bit of peat. These button bushes, I mean, as long as you keep them wet, I think they do fine in regular potting mix. I mean, we're about to find out. I've never grown them before, so I mean, what time like the present to figure that out. So what I'm gonna do with these is fill them up, not quite to the top, because remember there's a little bit of soil mass there. Oh yeah, that's that Eurybia divaricata. This one's doing particularly well. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Gonna fill these up with water. That's gonna do two things. It's gonna, obviously make it so that the plant, which is being transplanted, is gonna have a nice, wet substrate to put its roots down into. But also what that's gonna do is it's gonna compact the soil down, just to make sure that, we're not in a case where, oh, we were full up to the top and then first time it rains, half of your soil's down there. It's gonna help the roots, actually fill into this new potting mixture. And by the way, this is supposed to be a shade cloth. Has not been working out the best. I think I'm gonna cave and get an actual shade cloth, because as you can also see, I've run out of room here. I'd rather just put them on the ground, fenced in. So actually, I'm gonna fill these with water. I'm gonna start potting these up, and then we're gonna put them in the shade around the corner, because I think that'll actually be a better spot for them, in the full sun. And why we're doing that is because these have been grown under lights indoors. All these plants over here were grown in lights indoors. Excuse me. And when you bring them outside, there's obviously much bigger fluctuations in temperature, and more importantly, the sun is hot, way hotter, way more intense than any grow light. Grow lights do an okay job getting plants started, but there really is no substitute for the sun. So plants grown under grow lights, even for the first for the first portion of their life, brought outside, will need some time to gradually adjust to the sun's intensity, to start putting out things like those anthocyanin pigments you can see this one doing. Otherwise, they just end up, and we had some casualties, they just end up completely sun scorched, like that leaf there, which you don't want. Didn't seem to knock these guys back too hard, but still, they took a little bit of damage. Rhododendrons too. But then that new growth they push out after living through that experience, the rhododendron actually did a little bit better because it's got the hairs on the leaves already. The new growth being pushed out, it's going to have, richer pigmentation. It's going to have a thicker like epidermal tissue. It's going to have, what am I trying to say? It's going to have that buildup of wax on the leaves, and it's just generally going to be ready to survive. If I were to just transplant these into full sun, or just throw them out here in full sun and leave them out, the temperature shock would set them back, the leaves would get sunburnt and dry up, and they just generally wouldn't do well. So when we transplant, we want to make sure that we're starting them in the shade, or putting them out on days that are close to the temperature at which they were growing, in which for my house, probably around 65 degrees. It's actually a little warmer than that right now, but in the shade it'll be a little bit cooler, and that we're taking them in overnight. It's May 2nd right now. It could still snow in New England at this time of the year. You just never know. I've seen snow on Memorial Day up here in New England. So I'm gonna take these guys, gonna stick them in these pots. I'm gonna water these out first, and then I'll just kind of show you what they look like when they're coming out of the tray inserts, and then I'll show you where I'm putting them, and that'll probably just be it for this video. The germination, the strategies I've used to germinate, how and when I transplant, which is for your layman's terms, is generally, so these two leaves down here at the bottom, you want to transplant when a plant has two sets of full leaves. So Cephalanthus occidentalis is opposite leaved. So when these were the cotyledons, so these are not the true leaves. These will drop off at some point. This is what emerges first from seed, and then it has two whorls of true leaves. Third set's coming out. When they get to this stage, two leaves out, third set just getting ready. It's a good general rule of thumb that's when you can, start to think about. Definitely take it out of if you have it in a growing tray. Definitely taking it out of there. because it's going to damp off. It's going to be too humid. It's going to rot. And that's generally when, they're really starting to pick up growth. We don't have to do this step of hardening off plants for the ones that you saw earlier that germinated outside, because those are, just generally going to emerge from the soil a bit more robust than the ones started inside. Inside has its advantages, outside has its advantages. This, we had a 100% success rate of having every tray having at least a few plants. Outside, you're going to take more casualties initially, but you don't have to. I mean, those plants you can pot once they're, actually growing in, you can take those outdoor sown plants and just pop them right into the soil, wherever you want to go. You don't have to go through this step of hardening them off. Also, these plants are going to get a little bit of whiplash because these are fall blooming plants that have been put outside in the spring. I don't know. Some of these plants I did inside and outside just to compare. This one I only did inside, so the growth might slow down because they might not know what's going on. You can throw the phenology off. Shouldn't be too big of a deal for a perennial plant like this. Like, it should just kind of hang out, grow that root system, and then worst case scenario, it just doesn't flower this year, pops out when it's supposed to next year, continues on with its merry life. But I just don't know. I've never grown this plant before. Rhododendron canadensis, which I have grown before, I know this plant doesn't care. I actually kept my first batch indoors all year. They didn't even get this big their first year, but that heating pad and the early start really did a lot for these guys. But anyway, I'm just yapping. Let's get some plants into some pots. Okay, see, this is one of the nicest things about starting your plants in inserts. Some people just get 10-20 trays. Oh, it's a bumblebee hanging out on me. Hey, buddy. Some people will just start these in the 10-20 trays without the inserts, and that's fine if you really want to pluck these out early. But doing them with these inserts allows you to get that really nice root structure built up. So part of the reason why we're putting these into these small pots, because these plants will grow into a small tree, like pretty large shrubs to a small tree at some point, Cephalanthus occidentalis. But besides the point, is this root structure is this plant's lifeline. A plant, especially when it's established, many plants can take a ton of damage, and as long as they've got that nice healthy root system, as anybody who's ever had to weed a garden will tell you, they'll grow back even if you rip the entire above ground thing out. So you want this nice root system because it's going to go in that nice little pot, and it's not going to have to worry about drying out nearly as much as if it stayed in this little thing. And it's certainly not going to have to worry about drying out as much as if those roots, only went down, half an inch as opposed to, a good 2 inches. And yes, I've seen people do this. They take these out, they break the roots up. I don't know why. I was taught to do that as a kid. Don't do that. Keep that root ball intact. If you're timing everything right, you shouldn't have like an actual, ball of roots. They shouldn't be root bound, especially not at this stage. If you're in a deep enough pot, like if you're in something like that, which is like a 6-inch pot, and you get a little root bound, it's fine. I mean, I've transplanted 1.5 million root bound plants. Thankfully, New England is wet and forgiving. That can be a problem in some drier climates. That can be a problem with houseplants too that live in pots. But generally speaking, I'm not growing in pots if I don't have to. I always prefer to just put in the soil. That's a good general rule of thumb for plants. Even house plants, no plant likes being indoors. No plant likes being in a pot. They like being outside in their preferred habitat. And for everything I'm growing, that essentially is the New England climate, give or take, some variations. It's the eastern U.S. You get the idea. So let's put these in pots, and then I'll put them out. I'll show you where I'm going to leave them for the day, but these are going to come inside each night for the next week or so, and then I'll leave them out once I'm sure, the nights are going to be at least over 45 degrees. Another good rule of thumb there for tender growth is 40's pushing it is technically what you can get away with, but 45 especially for a plant that does have a southern affinity like this one. Like for these Eurybia, 40 degrees doesn't worry me for the Eurybia, definitely not for the rhododendron. You know, I mean, these things grow up in the, you know, White Mountains at elevation, but this guy is a lowland plant with a southern distribution, hitting the northern end of its range in New England. So just like my tomatoes, I'm gonna wait till the nights are over 45. So let's put these guys in some pots. Okay, and there you go, 6 pots of Cephalanthus potted up. I hit them again with the hose because, again, even though we saturated that soil, we want to make sure that they're, you know, packed in around the roots, that there's not air gaps, so the thing is getting water, and then it's getting nutrients. And I'll leave them here until I come back tonight, bring them inside, and then if we get in the next week, put them out here again tomorrow, bring them in at night, and I'll just, you know, slowly inch them closer and closer to where I know that they're going to get more and more sun. Right here, they'd be in the shade all day, you know. I'm moving them around. Got a good general idea where the sun is falling in this garden. It gets early morning sunshine too, which is less intense than afternoon and midday sun. So we'll let these guys drain out, become acclimatized to the new pot. They're going to hang out here for a little bit, and then I'm going to go throw a couple plants at the ground and just show you what I'm doing with those after, why I'm planting, what I'm planting, where I'm planting. So we'll check back in for one more thing in a second here. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about with a root-bound plant. So this is not the end of the world for this guy, but what we're going to do, this is obviously a pretty well-established plant, probably germinated last year, and this is the second year growing. This is a New England aster, Symphytrichum nova anglii, and I'm going to plant this guy with the goldenrod, not only because goldenrod and New England aster look fantastic growing together. You know, go take a look at that episode. It's actually it's the thumbnail for one of my Lake Champlain episodes. But these are both aggressive, you know, aggressive plants that'll get bigger. They'll bully other plants out. So while, you know, I'm not too worried about, you know, this guy can hold his own. The honeysuckle there is a low spreading bush. It doesn't really, you know, it's arguably the weakest guy here, but I know that these grow a little bit more upright, and while solidago spreads, which is fine, these don't spread as readily. They're just very defensive of their established, you know, their established spot in habitat. But what we're gonna do is we've actually probably got 1, 2, 3, 4 plants here. We're gonna split this guy up. I'm gonna do 2 here, and then I'll probably do 2, you know, further down the garden, maybe with the milkweed, which can be aggressive, and then, you know, down there near the other patch of milkweed and the phylloxera, because those, you know, not going to be much interest there later on in the season. I've also got some Monarda fistulosa there to plant as well, which will go kind of in this middle layer, probably actually in front of a lot of these plants, because I can get like 4 feet tall. In line with the milkweed. It blooms about the same time too. So let's get these split up and get them into the ground. Okay, so I didn't get this super clean splits in 4 like I wanted, but you can always divide plants up even if they're in the ground, or you can take cuttings from the roots. So I split them in 2. So I put one of my bee bombs here, where that was actually where the dead Comptonia was. One here in front of the milkweed. They do really well together. I guess I probably should have put it there. And then 2 winged asters there and there. And as with anything, gotta water them in when they go into the ground too. So that's some germination techniques, some potting techniques, some transplanting, just general information. I hope you found some of this useful. I'm gonna keep doing these, do some garden tours. This whole garden's not really gonna have much going on in it until the summer, but you know, I'm excited to see how everything fares. I've got 2 more pots. I got 1 more each of these. I'm going to start a garden out front with them, coming up with a pokeweed that I just let kind of take over. So we'll get some footage of that maybe when those are in bloom, or, you know, I'll show you how I cut up turf too. That might be a good video, and then I can show you kind of how to start an in-ground garden. I'm going to deal with all these at some point, get a weed whacker, but I mean, dandelions and bittercress don't really bother me. The grass is kind of annoying, but this is this corner especially is going to grow up so dense. This is all going to get shaded out at some point. I don't know what this is though. There's one cool looking plant here. See if I can figure out what that is. Oh god. Oh yeah, fun thing about bittercress. You see how it's shooting that out? It explosively dehisces when you walk by, it spreads the seed absolutely everywhere, but I don't really care. The plant doesn't really, it only grows that big. You know what I mean? It doesn't really crowd anything out, and you can just pluck the little seedlings out. Yeah, put the rocks down. It definitely helps, because that's what it looks like if you don't have the rocks down. In any case, that's about all I got. Take it easy. I'm gonna water these in right now. Take it easy, guys.